Welcome to the Heartful Healing Hub podcast. I am Deanne, your host, frequency intuitive and energetic healing guide, here to hold space for transformation through sound, energy, and sacred storytelling. You're listening to Healed and Whole Stories of Remembering, a special series where I sit with women who've walked through deep health challenges and emerged transformed. These are conversations that are sacred, heart to heart, soul to soul, filled with truth, resilience, and the power of coming home to yourself. May these conversations inspire your own inner healer to awaken. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast. Today, I am sitting here with Madame Lorraine Enright, and I will pull up her bio so I can properly introduce her. Lorraine is a Soul in Dentity Coach, Breathwork Facilitator. I can speak, I swear. Spiritual Leadership Activator. So, as a Soul in Dentity Coach, she guides, support, and facilitates women and entrepreneurs to awaken the spirit within to move from external validation through her soul integration method so they can heal deeply, reclaim their identity, and lead with purpose-driven authority. I know I can speak. How are you, dear?
I'm well, thank you, Deanne, and thank you for having me. Yeah, I know you can speak as well. I know you can speak very clearly.
No, it's just the identity that kind of threw me off a bit because you used to say identity, right?
Yes,
so I'm like,
yes.
My goodness, I can say this.
As I said, I'm well.
Excellent, excellent. So the stage is yours, whatever you would like to share, whether it's a story that you'd like to begin with or what you're doing. So I'm just leaving it to your inspiration.
Oh, okay. Well, that is unusual, and thank you, because I'm a little bit used to having a few questions starting off. So thank you very much for this opening to share a bit about what I do. For myself, as many do, I've had a journey, and there's been parts of the journey, or I have a journey still, where things happen and they open up your awareness even more, and you start to realize things and so on. And I've always known that I've been that little bit different or unique when it comes to my family background, to how my siblings are, and I am a very different. But coming from a dysfunctional background and childhood, it was a challenge, like many of us, can have this situation. But as time went on and I got married and so on, I had this drawing to learn certain, modalities and coachings and methods and things like that. But over the time, I was supporting my husband's business in that side. So, we were working in that business together, and that was in the finance field. And as much as I love money and so on, not my thing, just not my thing. But of course, I did, supported him, did admin and things like that. But over the time, I was sending out emails, and as I sent out an email to a particular person, they actually replied back, "Thank you, John." And of course, my signature was on the bottom, everything was there. And I've gone, oh, hold on a minute. And I replied back, "My name is Lorraine." So, at that point, I knew I wasn't in a happy place in the sense of not following the things that I enjoy and things like that, dabbling here and there. But I realized I was starting to make myself invisible because I wasn't happy. I was, the world and the universe was showing me people aren't seeing you. They're not recognizing you. You're not seeing yourself.
Yeah.
You're not listening to yourself. And then I had a bit of a health issue where my left arm began to swell. And, it was okay in the morning, but as the day went on, it would swell and be uncomfortable and so on. And I hesitated a bit to go to the doctor. I just thought, maybe it's some fluid thing or something. But my kids did say to me, my children said, Mum, please go to the doctor. So I went, yeah, okay. It's time I did. And thank goodness I did, because I had a blood clot under my left arm.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, when I went to the doctor, as much as, a great doctor, but I could understand where she came from for the fact of how I was describing the symptoms, because the symptoms, it felt like in the back of my shoulder blade and things like that, the pain. So she suggested and said to me, I'll send you to physio, because it might be like a muscular type thing. And something didn't gel with me. And I said, look, that's great, thank you, but I really want to find out what this is, as in where it's coming from. So she then said, oh, okay, go for an ultrasound. And I said, that's the first start, that's great, we're looking inside now. So I went there. I made the appointment at the end of the day, because I had one of my children with me. They were in high school at the time, and had the appointment. It was 5 p.m, waiting with my daughter. Next moment, the lady came out and said, oh, is your doctor in her surgery? And I looked at the time and I went, no, she's gone. Why? And she goes, didn't really answer, and just went, go to hospital, go straight to hospital, do not pass go, do not stop anywhere, they're waiting for you. Now that's pretty frightening when I'm like, hold on, you're not even sharing anything with me here. Like, my daughter, of course, she was only, I think, 14 at the time, 15 at the time, and she was, Mum, what's, and hey, I don't know. Like, so of course I went straight to the hospital. They were waiting for me there. They started to do more tests with me. It was about midnight by this time, and they came to me and said, you've got a blood clot under your left arm. And I went, wow. So, of course, I had to start a process of blood thinners and things like that. That made it quite an urgent thing, where they then had to find out whether I had any more in my body, because we couldn't explain why that one was there or why it happened or anything like that. I hadn't traveled, I hadn't done anything. So, so a quick appointment, like they rushed me into a specialist this all happened in a matter of a couple of weeks. And the doctor, the specialist, when I was there, my husband was with me, and he said, okay, can we do this date? Are you fine with this date? And I sort of hesitated and went, oh, yeah, but I knew something wasn't. But I went, yeah, okay, that'll be fine. Let's do that. Went back down to the car. Thank goodness my diary was in the car. And I sat in the car, opened up my diary, looked at that date and went, oh, I can't do that. Oh, my gosh, straight on the phone to the surgeon and went, oh, listen, I'm just wondering if you could say to me, oh, so what happened was, I missed a bit here, sorry. I had some more tests. I had an MRI, which then scanned my whole body. When that happened, which is why they then got rushed, was because I had a growth inside my stomach area. And it was crushing my stomach, my bowel, my ovaries. And they're looking at me and they're going, can you feel that? And I'm like, no. And they're going, are you sure? And I'm going, what am I meant to be feeling? Like, I felt the blood clot and I knew that, but what? Okay, well, this is urgent because it's crushing, it's big. They then couldn't give me an answer to whether it was malignant or not, and so on. So rushed to the surgery. As I said, made the booking, went down to the car, opened the diary and went, oh, I can't do that. And my husband just looked at me and went, what do you mean? This is life and death. This is, like, this is your health. This is, and I went, well, hold on. And I rang the surgeon. I said, look, I just need to ask a question. 3 days after the surgery, am I able to get up, get into a car, have someone drive me to a certain place, get out, sit down? I promise I won't work around or do strenuous things or anything like that. But could I do that? And he just went, no, Lorraine, no, there's no way. And I went, oh, okay. Well, can we change the date? What? And my husband by this time is yelling at me in the car saying, you're crazy. What are you doing? And I said, well, and I sort of put my hand up to him and to stop. And I just said to him, is it possible that you could think there's something else behind this? There's more to this? And he's looked at me again thinking, you're crazy, lady. The doctor said, no, cannot, do that. So I said, will you change the date? Hesitantly, finally, he said yes. And so we moved the date. Because the reason was I had booked in my first learning and trainings and learning about, NLP, coaching, everything, very first stages of what I loved and what I was doing. And I had paid for that as well. And I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. I really, was looking forward to this and I wanted to do it. And thankfully, in the trainings, when I had any, assessments to do and things like that, they were very good with me. And they said, look, we know where you're at. So we're putting an extension there for you and all that. So that was great. I did all of that. But through that process, I started to go, oh my gosh, I've done this to myself. I've created this myself. And I learnt what I learnt. It was only a matter of days after I then went into surgery. I came out the next morning, I'm sitting in a chair. It was the afternoon surgery. I was sitting in a chair and my in-laws came to see me. And they actually sat there and they kept staring at me quite unusually. And I started to look at myself, or, how you touch your face and what's wrong. And they then looked at me and said, have you had the surgery? And I went, yeah, I wouldn't have this drip hanging from my arm. And are you sure? I just looked and went, yeah, would you like to see the big scar, like the cut and everything? And they went, no. And I said, why? Why are you asking me this? And they just looked at me and went, you look so good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I went, oh. And I'm looking at myself, trying to, oh, well, that's a good thing. And they said, yeah, you just look like fresh. And I went, oh, wow. So that was interesting. And then when the doctor had come to me and I had the drip for the pain relief and so on, he looked at me and he went, you've not used this. And I said, no, I don't need to. And he goes, it's there and you can't overdose. You just, press the button. It won't let you. Yes, I know. Okay, well, just know you can use it. The next day he came again. I hadn't used it. And he goes, what's going on? And honestly, it wasn't that I didn't have a pain. And I knew that, I couldn't just go off running or coughing or things like that because I'd been, I had a big cut there and so on. But I did feel good. I really felt good. And he ended up just looking at me and saying, I'm going to take this away. There's no point. I said, yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. And then I went home and they gave me pain relief to take home. And I did take one of those when I got home because of all the transition of getting in the car, doing everything. And the thing with that was it made me sick. So it made it worse for me because I then vomited it up, and was, oh my gosh. And that was the only pain relief I then ended up having. I had nothing. And for the 3 weeks that I was healing, I don't know, I just knew I had created this myself because I was so unhappy, because I was ignoring what I was doing. I was doing things for everyone else. Um, you know, I felt like I had to explain myself all the time because, my children and people didn't understand where I was coming from and things like that. That I just knew, oh my gosh, I wasn't listening to myself. I wasn't listening to that innate wisdom and truth that we have within ourselves, lifetimes of truth and wisdom. And that was such a turning point because over the, nearly 16 years or so, even more, I've probably taken 8 Panadol in all that time and nothing else. Like, I don't take anything else. The only thing I take is a natural curcumin, to help my blood and inflammation. That's it. And I just have realized, oh my gosh, it is within us. Everything is within us. And we need to listen to that. We need to learn how to connect with that part within ourselves. And yes, meditation is a wonderful tool. It is absolutely a wonderful tool. The thing is, though, that it's not something that a lot of us have time to do because it takes practice. It's like everything else. Practice, practice, practice. Our body we get used to it. We calm the mind and so on. And over the time, I received information that was coming to me that I was working with and learning and using and unraveling so many things within myself. I didn't even know I was thinking about them or that they were there. And created a visual to help the calming of the mind. Because our faith and our trust and our worth belong inside of ourselves, and especially faith. And I know that's a bit controversial for others in how they see things, but if we are searching or putting ourselves out there for something outside of ourselves to bring us what we require, the miracles, the magic, everything that we require, then we're saying we're separate from everything that is. And as we know, science backs everything is energy, and we are not separate. We have no control about the outside world, and what others do. But the interesting thing is that I don't think people sort of understand, and I know many have said to me that one person cannot make a change. They can't change the world and so on. But I beg to differ, they can. Because it's that one person that shared what they knew and that wisdom and that knowledge and so on. And then someone else thought, yeah, I can connect with that. And yes, that created a movement or a gathering of people, and something new. But it was one person that started that. And so we really need to be able to start from within. We are a collaboration of all that is. And through our upbringing, through society, through everything that goes on, and with good intention, our parents, did the best that they could and so on. But how many beliefs and limitations do you hold within yourself that are not even yours to own? And we just work so automated on these things that we've forgotten who we are. We've
Yeah,
forgotten the power we hold, the
absolutely.
truth we have. And of course, this is all based on the foundation of love. That's the key factor of everything.
Mhm.
We come into this world a pure, loving being. And we hear things and things happen and it changes and so on. So that foundation of building that worth and that trust and the faith within is in the foundation of love, of self.
Yep.
And when we start with that within ourselves and we understand who we are and what we'll accept and so on, because our values are so important as well. And people will say values of, integrity, honesty, and so on. Well, I very rarely do I hear when I ask this question that someone actually states the first value is themselves. Number one is you. Value everything you have. Own everything you have. Because that honesty and integrity and everything that's under that umbrella. It's all part of that anyway. You have a natural immune system within ourselves, a natural energy. Our body is designed to heal itself. And when you can come into that space and be in that space, what we call boundaries, and I understand the concept of boundaries and the logic of it and so on, but these boundaries that we create through hurts and experiences that we're not happy with and so on begin to create walls, and we miss opportunities. But when you're in that natural innate state of self with that foundation of love, the energy of who you are in the power of love, you have an automatic beautiful immune system and an energy that you don't have to think about what you're going to accept or not. You know. And so that's the energy you put out there. And when you start doing that, you have people standing side by side with you. Because that's the thing. No one's in front of us and no one's behind us. We stand side by side together. And I believe that over these years, many have lost that. Many are so driven by the outside world and by the material world and things like that. And I understand there's certain aspects we need. But people work so hard to create these things that they need. And then when this time comes for them to enjoy their life, their health is not good.
Yeah.
And they're putting everything then into their health and not enjoying life. So we hold such a power within ourselves. And that's what I do. I guide and facilitate and teach women and entrepreneurs to be able to tap into that true source. And my clear view technique, my beautiful breathing technique, is a technique that, yes, you'll need to practice. It's simple in the way that it happens and so on, and the gestures that we do. You have a visual, and the visual calms the mind. The visual, the mind starts to understand, oh my gosh, yeah, I've got the faith. I'm going to drop into heart here. I'm going to allow this to happen. And then heart, in my experiences, is not necessarily the gateway to our soul. It is a bit more than that. And I believe it's the area of our solar plexus, and they combine together. That's our worth, our passion, our purpose in life. That's everything, that is us, our courage. And I believe in the alignment of heart and the solar plexus, that's the opening and gateway to your soul's truth, who you are, the oneness of all that is. So practicing that technique, some days you may feel there's no change. And that's the thing. It's starting to understand the little subtle changes, knowing the difference. But it's a technique that when you master this and you learn about this and you know who you are and so on, if you're driving, you're going somewhere, you're about to go into a meeting, before you get out of that car, you do that technique and it brings you back home within, in the moment of now, because that's the moment that matters.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about this.
No, I can tell, and I appreciate it. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I mean, I've said that, you know, other times as well. But you're basically, as far as I'm concerned, you're preaching to the choir, because, yeah, I totally believe this is the work that I do as well. It's like, you know, listen to your inner voice, bring everything back to you and your
Yeah.
instinct, and yeah, beautifully that
So true.
Yeah.
So true. And it's not that you're not going to listen to other people's suggestions and so on, but you'll know what's going to work for you. You know
Oh, yeah.
that the people are going to come across your path. You do not chase something. And I'm not saying you don't have goals and things like that. Goals aren't the outcome. They're the steps.
Yeah.
They're the steps, you know, because if we look at a football match, a soccer match, or something, it's how many goals do you get to the intention, the outcome that you're wanting. So the goals are the steps, and that can change at any given time. But if you think about the intention of where you're wanting to go, what this is, what that journey is, and you take expectations away, you'll possibly find that when you're getting to that point, it's going to be bigger and better than you ever thought it was going to be. Because with that expectation, you've closed yourself off. Yeah. You've put a vision there going, this is what I'm expecting. People get so disheartened when it doesn't quite turn out that way. But there's divine timing, and there's a process, and there's things you've got to learn on the way. Take the expectations away. Because you'll be more open, in flow. You'll hear more opportunities, possibilities, and you're not creating a resistance, because an expectation is a resistance, which is closing you off.
Yeah.
So we hold so much power, as I said.
No, we do. And exactly as, yeah. And as you said, you know, like if you have specific expectations and you're not, like, even if you have expectations, you can end your, I mean, I know you said that meditation is a great tool, but whatever it is that you say, if, okay, so this is what I envision, or this is what I would like, or better, because when you open yourself up, things can be a lot better and a lot greater than you thought than you could even imagine. So yes, absolutely.
Yes. And this is the thing with my technique and my Soul in Dentity Codes. Because I went through an experience in about 2015, 2016, where, you know, I'd been working with this for a long time and wanting to understand what was happening and what was I to do with this. And I had an experience where, you know, I was sitting down in my home and suddenly I had some tears out of the blue, and I thought, oh, what's going on here? And okay, I'm just going to allow this to happen. I'm just going to allow it to unfold. And then I did my best, because I started to like really cry. I was bawling my eyes out going, oh my gosh. And all these things were coming through like messages. So I did my best to get a pen and paper and write what I could. Excuse me. And then what had revealed, which I had no idea was sitting in there because I'd never thought consciously. My mother suffered with mental illness all my life, all our lives together. And when I came into this world, I was brought in the suggestion of the doctors at that time, have another baby, that'll fix her, she'll be right. Like, they were guinea pigs back then, unfortunately. And of course, I came along, and 6 months into my journey, and, this is just a bit tender here, so just a little warning. My mother had attempted to commit suicide. Okay. And luckily she had put me in another room because it was gas and so on. So I survived. So she was very thoughtful in that way. She put me in another room. And then over the years, this 2016, having this revelation, the things I ended up writing down, and I had felt in all of my life then that I had failed her, because I came in the world in their perception of, you'll fix her, she'll be right. And of course she got, postnatal depression even more, and all, the things of the mental health got worse, and I thought I'd failed. And so for how many years, 50 years, I had carried within me that I didn't fulfill my job, and I wasn't good enough because people only wanted me if I could do the job.
That's a huge burden.
That was, when I came out of it, and that was probably about 15 minutes process of that releasing, I was just, oh my gosh, where was that?
Yeah.
Where was that sitting inside of me? Yeah. Because there's no way I would have ever guessed or understood that I had that in there, because logically it never had popped up.
Yeah.
So when I learnt all of this, when excuse me, things happened in the world and things changed through that time, I got this very bold, clear message, because I remember sitting there going, what am I meant to do with all of this? I know it works. I know what it does. But what am I meant to do? Because I had little pictures and things like that. Like I just didn't know. And then I got this bold statement come out saying, Lorraine, the world needs it now. And that was in 2021. And I went, oh, wow. Okay, how do I do that? What do you mean? And thankfully, the perfect person came across my path, put all my images together of what this was and how. She came back to me with, I'd sent her all these little blurby, and little drafts and things of, I went, hey, this is what it is and this is what's happening. And she came back with the Soul in Dentity codes that were there, and she nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Awesome.
And that is the visual for the mind to begin having the faith.
Yeah.
And so on. So
that's beautiful.
It was powerful, so powerful. Yeah. And that's how it all eventuated to me using this technique, being able to understand the difference in myself when things are happening. Like we do have our gut feelings and those real powerful moments that we, know not to move forward. But there's also subtle changes that we miss. Subtle signs and, subtle little nudge that might happen in the top of your leg and things like that, that they're there for you to listen. So yeah, powerful.
Yeah, because our subconscious mind, our inner voice, or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't speak in the language that the conscious mind does. So trying to figure out the language or remembering the language, I should say, not trying to figure it out, because we do know innately, but
Yes.
remembering that language, sometimes it can take a little bit, but it's there. We know it.
Yes. And this is where it's practice. It's like riding a bike, driving a car.
Yeah.
It's practice.
Yes.
And the more that you practice it, the more that you understand what's going on within your body, the more that you then bring balance of the masculine, feminine energies, because women have come a long way.
Oh, yes.
But unfortunately, there's still a way to go because, we have an energy within us, and this is our solar plexus, where this is more a male energy, and they're the breadwinners and so on. And we need to balance that. We need to bring more masculine energy into the heart to understand, and the feminine energy more into balance with the solar plexus, the gateway to soul.
Yeah.
And when we can combine our humanness, our human personality, and our spiritual essence, you then have spirit, and the spirit is the heartbeat of soul.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the power is.
Yeah, that is very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love this. I love this work. I love seeing the changes in people. And it's not that you become someone new.
No.
You have recalibrated to that calibration of who you are.
Yeah, you're returning to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the beauty. And unfortunately, like, it's like you're unlearning a lot of the things that you were taught from babyhood, and then just returning to that pure self that you came here to be, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're not influenced by the outside world and what others think, in the sense of, respectfully, as I said, you'll listen to people and friends and so on. But let's, we understand where we are right now, and it's chaotic out there and so on. And this is where I feel that as much as we have had connection with all these new, devices and the internet and so on, which has been a great thing, but it's actually disconnected us more than we think in the years coming through.
Yeah.
And our younger generation, it's simplifying the thinking. So we're not thinking. We're not, trusting who we are, and what we know, and the truth we have inside of ourselves. And
I think it's changing, though, because I'm looking at my children right now, and they're in their 30s, or my youngest one is almost 30. But it's just, I can see like a shift happening within like all of my kids, and then they're just starting to realize that these devices are great, but we need to go back in and figure out, okay, what's going on here, who am I, and why am I here? And
because we get so influenced by everything. We work so hard, we think that we need this and that and everything, and our health deteriorates because we push ourselves in a way that we don't require to. Because if you're in that flow and you're starting to understand things, you'll know that what really matters is you, the people that you love, the kindness and connection and the support that we can give each other, and so on. But that has just gone so out the window, like, gone haywire. And I do agree, it is changing. I see that in my children as well. We are in a change, in a massive change, as we know. And this change is going to take a few years. Like when we think about the years it took to get where we are,
Oh,
It
yeah.
needs to unravel to be able to then start again and so on. So we are in the changes. And I have heard that 2027 is more so a year of people coming back to individual, not in a selfish way, but as in returning home and not looking outside of themselves going, hey, because if we look outside of ourselves and we wait for all these things that we think, or we're taught that this is how it's got to be and so on, we're just giving our power away.
Yeah.
We've just given it away. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that you won't require certain things outside of yourself, but they will come to you when you need that. Because divine timing is a key factor in our journeys. So how would you like to feel? How would you like to truly feel within yourself?
Yeah.
Inner bliss and inner calmness is one of the most powerful, beautiful places to be. And it's not saying that you will not have challenges, because you will. Challenges are part of life, the ebb and flow, the ups and downs. But when you have those challenges, you will handle them differently. You will be calmer within yourself because you're trusting you. You're having faith in yourself to come through this. And so your health will be better because you're not in overwhelm, you're not in stress, you're not in anxiety. And what you do need and require in your life, like, because if we were all to be rich, we would be. It just would be that way. Like, in the sense of, people aiming for all this monetary wealth and things like that. And I'm not saying we don't have a currency, we do. But really, look at the chaos that, I've been a part of. There's no doubt about it. I had been a part of that chaos out there at one point or whatever. But now, oh my gosh, what I require and what's important to me, which is humans and the love and the support and my family and my friends and my colleagues, and that's what matters. I've got food to eat. I've got a roof over my head. What I need, I've got. And the inner bliss is just, it's gold. Absolute gold. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what came to mind as well while you were talking, is like, you and I, and the type of work that we're doing, we're kind of like that. I love that analogy, like the rippling out, and it is affecting our children, and then it is affecting the world. And there's a thought that just occurred to me, because, and I hadn't looked at it that way, but the pandemic, as terrible as it was, it's kind of made us realize, I believe anyway, I'm just, like I said, this is just something that a thought that just popped up, but it kind of made us realize that we need to be in communities. We need to be part of a tribe. And that's part of the human being's DNA, right? We're supposed to be, we're not meant to be these little isolated islands. And because we were forced to be isolated, it's made us kind of think, okay, like, I need people around me. I need to be, like I said, part of a community and be with people. Like, it's great that we can communicate, like you're in Australia, I'm here in Canada. It's wonderful to have this technology, but we also need to be in person. And I think these are things that are just coming up, like that's one thing that I also want to, I mean, I'm loving the podcast here, but I'm also wanting to build communities, like in-person communities, where I'll be, in my next, I'll be moving soon at the end of the month. But that's like, once I'm there, that's what I want to do. And I think there's more and more people that wish to be part of these types of community and these tribes. And
yeah, and to be able to be in that space with those people and truly be yourself.
yes, oh, absolutely.
Not have to like wear a mask or be in a way that, oh my gosh, are they going to like what I say or whatever? Because if you're in that space and you have the foundation of love, your intent will not ever be to hurt someone intentionally. So if something gets said out of context, it's okay for each person to have their opinion and so on. But if someone's triggered by something, that is not your problem of what you said.
Yeah.
It's the other person's awareness to go, whoa, hold on, where did that come from? Because, like one of my most favorite people that I have followed for years, and I won't say how long for the fact that it will show my age, is Dr. Bruce Lipton. Mm-hmm. And he's a scientist, like he's an amazing man, and he went mm-hmm. through the normal method of, doctoring and teaching and all that. And I love that he's brought the awareness to us that we have 50 trillion cells of awareness within each and every one of us.
Yeah.
And those 50 trillion cells have each individual cell has awareness. And the contractor to those cells and that awareness is our mind and our environment. And they're the main two contractors. So what are you feeding those cells of awareness? And awareness is key.
Yeah.
If we don't know, we don't know. Then we can't. Awareness is key. You've got 50 trillion cells of them within you.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. Oh, my gosh. Amazing. Yeah, so I love him. I love his work. I've, as I said, followed him for many years, many years. And, yeah, it's because there's things that, for example, I'm not able to explain really well. I'm not science-backed and things like that. But listening to some of his things helps putting it into, in terms where people then start to understand it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Wow. We've been talking for like 45 minutes. It's thank you. That's been amazing. I love, like I said, you're preaching to the choir here. I'm just loving everything you're saying. So it's been amazing.
Thank you.
Any last words of wisdom, something you'd like to share to audience or?
I think one of the key things is to truly understand that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you in that sense that you've just lost the direction and the connection of who you are. And it's okay to be uniquely you. Because I actually did a session with a woman in human design, which is our blueprint, in a blueprint. And I was not aware she was a twin, an identical twin.
Okay.
And the interesting part was at the end of talking about the session and her blueprint, she asked a question and said, look, I'm just wondering if you can help me. I am an identical twin. We've done the charts. And the interesting thing was there was one number that was different. And yet we're identical twins. We're meant to be, in that oneness, so to speak.
Yeah.
And she said, can you answer that? And I went, well, great question. And for myself, the message is that you are uniquely you.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you have an identical twin that is so much like you, you are both unique. And that is wonderful. And she just went, oh my gosh, I've not thought that way about it. No one's ever said that. And I went, well, we are. We're all unique. And it's okay to be who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So be you, everybody.
Yes.
Be you.
Yes. Yeah. Be the beautiful you are meant to be.
Yes. Yes. So true. Yeah.
Well, I greatly appreciate you taking the time today. I know it's very early in the morning for you, or somewhat early in the morning for you, but yeah, greatly appreciate that you've taken the time to be here today. And I hope that it's it's gonna sound funny, but for you it's tomorrow because it's Wednesday, right?
Yes. It's Wednesday.
I'm still on.
So you're in
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I'm still on Tuesday, so I'm looking.
Isn't that weird?
I know, right? But no, so I look forward to being, tomorrow because I know it's going to be a beautiful day because you're already there.
Yeah, it is a beautiful day. It's absolutely glorious. And Deanne, thank you so much for this opportunity. What you share and doing this podcast is a beautiful concept and a beautiful gift to others for being able to hear these, beautiful stories, learn something each time they listen, and so on. So thank you for the opportunity of having me on. I really do appreciate that, and you.
Thank you. And yes, like I said, I'm just grateful that you were carving some time to be here. So really appreciate you. And you are a very beautiful person, so and very unique. So I love that.
Thank you.
I love your uniqueness.
That's my signature.
Exactly. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for spending time with us inside the Heartful Healing Hub. If this story moved you, please consider sharing this episode or leaving a comment. Your words help others find this sacred space. If you or someone you love has a healing journey to share, we'd love to hear from you. And finally, if you would enjoy a gentle way to unwind after listening, visit the show notes to download your free tea ritual guide, Sip and Soften, a soul-soothing gift to nourish your inner healer. Until next time, be kind to yourself and trust what has always been within you. And remember, you are whole, you are healing, you are home.